The morning sun cast long shadows across Nellis Air Force Base as Maria Santos pulled on her coveralls for another day of aircraft maintenance. The fabric was stained with hydraulic fluid and jet fuel, badges of honor she wore proudly despite the dismissive glances from some of the pilots who passed by. At 24, she had already spent 3 years working on some of the most advanced aircraft in the world, but, to many around the base, she remained invisible, just another face among the ground crew. Maria had grown up in a small town in New Mexico, where the sight of military jets streaking across the desert sky filled her with wonder rather than fear. Her father worked construction, her mother cleaned houses, and neither had ever imagined their daughter would one day work alongside machines worth more than their entire neighborhood. When Maria announced her intention to join the Air Force after high school, her parents worried she was reaching too high. The military seemed like a world reserved for other people's children. Basic training at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas had been a shock. Maria was smaller than most of her fellow recruits, standing barely 5 feet 4 inches tall, and some instructors initially questioned whether she had the physical strength needed for aircraft maintenance. She proved them wrong during her first week, when she successfully lifted and maneuvered a heavy engine component that 2 larger recruits had struggled with. Her success came not from brute force, but from understanding leverage, angles, and proper technique, skills that would serve her well in the precision world of military aviation. Her assignment to the F-35 Lightning II program at Nellis was both thrilling and daunting. The F-35 represented the cutting edge of military aviation technology, a 5th-generation fighter jet that could perform multiple roles with capabilities that seemed almost magical. The aircraft incorporated stealth technology, advanced sensors, and computer systems that could process information faster than any pilot could think. Working on such machines required not just mechanical skill, but also deep understanding of complex electronic systems. The F-35 program itself was controversial, with critics pointing to cost overruns and technical difficulties that had plagued development for years. By the time Maria arrived at Nellis, many of these issues had been resolved, but the aircraft still demanded exceptional maintenance standards. Every component had to be perfect, every system had to function flawlessly, because pilot lives depended on the work performed by ground crews like Maria. Her supervisor, Technical Sergeant Rodriguez, was a 20-year veteran who had worked on everything from A-10 Warthogs to F-22 Raptors. He recognized Maria's potential immediately, noting how she approached problems with methodical thinking rather than rushing to quick fixes. While other technicians might focus on getting aircraft back in the air as quickly as possible, Maria took time to understand why problems occurred and how to prevent them in the future. The F-35's complexity meant that maintenance technicians needed extensive training on multiple systems. Maria threw herself into studying avionics, hydraulics, propulsion systems, and the aircraft's sophisticated computer networks. She spent her off-duty hours reading technical manuals, practicing procedures, and asking questions of more experienced technicians. Her dedication did not go unnoticed, but it also set her apart from colleagues who preferred to keep work and personal time completely separate. Captain Jennifer Walsh, one of the few female pilots in the squadron, occasionally stopped to chat with ground crew members during pre-flight inspections. She noticed Maria's thorough attention to detail and her ability to explain complex systems in simple terms. Captain Walsh had faced her own struggles breaking into the male-dominated world of fighter aviation, and she recognized something familiar in Maria's determination to excel despite skepticism from others. The daily routine at Nellis involved maintaining aircraft for both training flights and operational deployments. Each F-35 that rolled out of the hangar represented millions of dollars in taxpayer investment and, more importantly, carried a pilot whose safe return depended on the quality of maintenance work performed. Maria understood this responsibility deeply, often staying late to double-check her work or help colleagues solve difficult technical problems. One particularly challenging assignment involved diagnosing an intermittent electrical fault that had grounded one of the squadron's aircraft for 3 days. The problem occurred randomly, making it nearly impossible to reproduce during ground testing. Previous troubleshooting efforts by other technicians had failed to identify the root cause, and Frustration was mounting as the aircraft remained unavailable for critical training missions. Maria volunteered to take on the problem, spending hours studying wiring diagrams and system specifications. She noticed a pattern in the fault reports that others had missed. The problem only occurred when certain environmental conditions were met, specifically high humidity combined with vibration stress during taxi operations. This observation led her to examine wire bundles in areas where moisture might accumulate and movement might cause intermittent connections. Her systematic approach paid off when she discovered a damaged connector hidden deep within the aircraft's avionics bay. The connector appeared normal during static inspections but failed under specific conditions that matched the fault pattern she had identified. Replacing the connector solved the problem permanently, earning Maria recognition from both her immediate supervisors and the squadron commander. Word of Maria's diagnostic skills spread throughout the maintenance community at Nellis. Senior technicians began seeking her input on difficult problems, and she developed a reputation for finding solutions that others missed. Her methodical approach and deep understanding of aircraft systems made her valuable beyond her official rank and position. The respect Maria earned from fellow maintainers was genuine, but she still faced subtle discrimination from some quarters. Certain pilots barely acknowledged ground crew members, treating them as interchangeable parts of the maintenance process rather than skilled professionals. This attitude stung because Maria understood the aircraft better than many of the officers who flew them, yet her insights were often dismissed or ignored. Captain Walsh observed these dynamics during her interactions around the flight line. She had experienced similar treatment early in her own career and recognized the frustration that capable individuals felt when their expertise was undervalued. During one conversation, she asked Maria about her long-term career goals, curious whether the talented technician had considered opportunities beyond maintenance work. Maria had indeed thought about other possibilities within the Air Force, but most seemed out of reach. Officer positions required college degrees she did not possess, and specialized technical roles often had waiting lists years long. The idea of becoming a pilot herself had occurred to her, but it seemed like an impossible dream, something reserved for academy graduates and college-educated officers, not enlisted personnel from small New Mexico towns. Captain Walsh explained that the Air Force had programs designed to help outstanding enlisted personnel transition to officer roles, including pathways to pilot training. The requirements were demanding, involving both educational and leadership qualifications, but they were not impossible for someone with Maria's demonstrated abilities and work ethic. The conversation planted a seed that would grow in the months ahead. Meanwhile, Maria continued excelling in her maintenance duties while quietly researching the officer programs Captain Walsh had mentioned. She learned about the Airman Education and Commissioning Program, which provided opportunities for enlisted personnel to complete college degrees while remaining on active duty. She also discovered the Enlisted Pilot Initial Class Program, which offered a direct path from enlisted ranks to pilot training for exceptional individuals. The application requirements were intimidating. Candidates needed outstanding performance records, leadership experience, and educational achievements that Maria was only beginning to accumulate. The selection process was highly competitive, with hundreds of applicants competing for a handful of slots each year. Success required not just technical competence, but also demonstrated leadership potential and the ability to handle extreme pressure. Maria began taking college courses through the Base Education Center, using tuition assistance programs to work toward a degree while maintaining her full-time maintenance duties. The schedule was exhausting, 12-hour shifts on the flight line followed by evening classes and weekend study sessions, but she was determined to create opportunities for herself that others might not offer. Her academic performance matched her professional excellence. Professors noted her practical understanding of complex systems and her ability to apply theoretical knowledge to real-world problems. Maria's experience working on actual aircraft gave her insights that traditional students often lacked, and she found herself helping classmates understand concepts that seemed abstract to them but were familiar from her daily work. The physical demands of preparing for potential pilot training were equally challenging. Maria had always been athletic, playing soccer in high school and maintaining decent fitness through Air Force requirements. But pilot training demanded peak physical condition. She began a rigorous exercise program, focusing on cardiovascular endurance, strength training, and spatial awareness exercises that would prepare her for the disorienting effects of high-performance flight. Technical Sergeant Rodriguez watched Maria's development with pride and some concern. The captain's support was invaluable, providing both encouragement and realistic perspectives on the challenges ahead. She helped Maria understand that rejection was common and often had little to do with an individual's actual capabilities. As winter approached at Nellis, Maria found herself working on increasingly complex maintenance tasks while simultaneously preparing for potential new challenges. The F-35 aircraft she serviced continued flying successful missions, each one representing a small victory for the ground crews who kept them airworthy. Maria took pride in knowing that her work contributed directly to mission success and pilot safety. The contrast between her current role and her ambitions created interesting tensions. She was already performing at an elite level within her field, earning respect and recognition that many people never achieve in their careers. Yet she felt drawn toward even greater challenges and responsibilities that would test her abilities in entirely new ways. The path forward was uncertain, filled with obstacles and potential disappointments, but Maria had never been one to choose easy routes. Her story was just beginning, though few people around Nellis recognized it yet. The young woman they saw performing maintenance duties with exceptional skill harbored dreams that would ultimately transform not just her own life, but also challenge assumptions about who belonged in the cockpits of America's most advanced fighter aircraft. The foundation for that transformation was being built one perfect maintenance job, one completed college course, and one small act of determination at a time.